Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 301st episode of Crashing Game Night. My name is Matt Dioro, your host, as always. We are joined by a couple familiar faces. The unofficial fifth member of the podcast. Well, unofficial, official, Soldier 1stClass.
Hello.
And we've got Ray Coffman, creator of Araura, joining us tonight.
What's happening?
Then we have our debut of a new couch, the maitre d' services, the Lion's Mane, Jason Bolidio.
It's 301. It's 301. How's it going, guys? How's it going? Matt learned from last week that he got tired of saying me last because I'd always go on and rant along. But it's okay. We got a new couch for 301. I promise you guys, it looks weird. I love it. It's gonna match this whole.
It's offbeat. I like it.
Yeah.
It looks way too short to lay on, though.
No. It's. I mean,
or
it
might be just enough for that like therapist couch.
Yeah, it's
a
like
therapist, like a little session lie down.
I don't need you guys being super tall. Like, stop being super tall and just maybe it's my size.
Just to clarify, what is super tall to you?
No, I mean, like I'm 5'10", so
I'm 6 foot, so I feel
yeah, see,
yeah. And then, ladies and gentlemen, the beanied one, our Grizzly Adams, Gerard Barra.
What is up, all you nerds and boys? Welcome. Thank you for joining. We've got a great show, and I can't wait to hear your guys' opinions on a few of the topics. We're gonna get some good topics today, so I can't wait to hear some opinions.
I mean, the conversation was lively beforehand.
Yeah, just a little, just a smidge.
But yeah, it'll be good. It'll get good.
How quickly into the podcast can Soldier get canceled?
As quickly as you did the first 3 times.
He's been on more than that. I mean, hold on. Let's see. How many has he been on? Let's go consult the website.
My question is how many times have I been canceled over the years?
That's why I was saying 3 times. I think I've counted 3 times. But you know what? You bounce back every time, baby. That's what soldiers do, man.
This is Soldier's 16th episode.
Hey,
1/6.
Yeah.
Dang, yo.
Yeah.
1/6.
What?
Damn.
Yes, you have been on 16 episodes, sir. You have been by far. I am looking at this.
Official, unofficial, indeed.
Yeah, official,
Yes.
official, bro.
I think that's like Hall of Fame status.
That's
I mean, like it's
Matt, I demand a plaque on your wall. It must be displayed in the background, in between the posters.
You know what, Soldier. I'm just gonna put like a little cardboard cutout.
I need one right here.
I'll do a little coin medal, maybe
You know what?
something to commemorate.
How about this?
A little
We
gift
can let's do this,
right
Jerry.
here.
We could reach out to our artist, Pierre. Maybe have him do a cartoon character for Soldier, so
That'd
we
be
can
fun.
put him into the opening reel anytime he's on. How about that?
That would be fun.
Can
I
he
like
make-
that idea.
Can he make my nose smaller?
No.
He won't do.
No.
He's completely. You saw the caricatures in the. He will stick to it.
Yeah.
He'll stick
Yeah.
to.
And then we'll put it right here. Put it right
That's
here.
that's
Put it right
what
here.
I'm afraid of.
A little picture right there.
That's the thing, though. Like, Soldier's been on literally 5% of the episodes.
Yeah. Holy crap!
So
It's been a long time.
Shark Tank number.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to do part of this episode, and I want to focus this on Ray. And the whole reason Soldier's here is because our guest requested a wingman for said episode.
But he couldn't show up, so I came.
Yeah, we had to deal with what we had.
There's bottom of the barrel, and then there's like the ground underneath. I'm like in between there.
We're roommates
Now,
down there.
hopefully-
We're roommates down there, man.
Hopefully he doesn't get you canceled, Ray. Anyways,
Don't worry, I get myself canceled enough for the both of us.
so let's talk Araura though, man, because you're getting close now. You were supposed to have the debut episode last Friday.
Yeah, well, a couple Fridays ago.
Yeah, actually 2 Fridays ago at this point. Yeah, so let's get an update on Araura because it's It's looking good.
We so the reason for the delay, and I kind of made a video about it, was we're kind of in a cool spot because like a lot of people don't see us coming, and we want to be loyal to the people that do see us coming that are waiting for it. But on that side of the coin, we want to make sure that we deliver absolutely what the vision of the show is supposed to be. And we found a few things in there that weren't quite up to snuff, and I passed it to a couple of editors, and they were all like, yeah, we should put it off and get it done, knock it out in the next couple of weeks. And we're hoping it's ready by next week. So the full first episode, and then the second episode is not going to be far behind it. And that's another reason
Nice.
we wanted episode 2 to be real close by the time 1 came out. 2 also wasn't where it needed to be because of some issues we had in the pipeline for 1. We fixed those. They were like pacing things, a few artwork things here and there, just lighting and effects and stuff like that. So having this further down the line is going to mean 2 is going to be maybe 4 to 6 weeks away from number 1. And so that was the real hope, is that people wouldn't have, because the first 2 episodes are kind of a self-contained story that leads into the rest of season 1. So we were hoping that all of those would be shown within 6 to 8 weeks of each other, and that people can be looking forward to season 1 toward the end of the next year, plus all the books and stuff we've got coming. So that was the big reason for it. But to say that, we are super excited with what we're seeing now.
Yo.
I've been passing some of it to Alex,
Ray,
letting him see.
I'm giving your YouTube channel a shout out right now while you talk about it.
Oh, well, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, we're climbing over there. We're hoping to be at 1,000 pretty soon. And it's wild watching all these. I'm really inspired by a lot of these independent animators that are just going on YouTube and saying, here's our show, go check it out. And then you look and it's like, in a week, they'll have like 850,000 views or something crazy, because that's what the whole industry is doing now. My story is not unlike a lot of their stories. We were approached by different companies. I won't talk about them. Some of you know who they are. And, it was like a tug of war, give up this much to get this much shown and everything. And then I was just like, and me and my wife even talked about, we were like, let's just fucking put it on YouTube, man. Just put it on YouTube and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we decided to do. And we're really, really happy we decided to do that. In the beginning, I was like,
Dope.
I don't know. But now the feedback we're getting, and new people who didn't even know what it was are coming to the DMs and talking and all this other kind of stuff. And we're very excited.
Nice. Looks awesome, dude. I'm sorry. I'm getting stuck on watching the video. It looks great.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah. This is more of an 8-minute teaser. It's not the real opening 8 minutes. It's a teaser. And then there are things, even the scenes that are shown in this already look way different in the revised edit that we did. So, except for the prologue, this is supposed to have the feel of like a Outlaw Star, Record of Lodoss War, 90s anime prologue, which are 2, Outlaw Star and Record of Lodoss War are 2 of the things I kept going to when we were doing this. I was like, the quality, the way it's presented, and just the look of it. I really loved that era of anime. I call it the golden age, kind of the same era of the golden age of the JRPG, because Japanese role-playing games are a big influence on what I did with the story too. So yeah, a lot of stuff. And I'll have people message me and say,
very cool.
Oh, this looks a bit like that. This looks a bit like that. And if it's from the 90s, it probably is a little bit like that thing you just mentioned.
Well, we were talking the other night. He had sent me it's the scene with the rain and the cityscape and stuff like that. And it was like, I think if I remember right, the first thing I texted him was, dude, this looks like 90s anime. Like, this looks like that gritty art style, the sound design, like it's got that look, and it also has like, I think I might have even said Outlaw Star, like coloring and like design. And it's like,
to compare it to anything like current, I get a lot like heavy Castlevania vibes from it, like just the look and feel of it. That's why I kind of resonate. Like, I got stuck at watching. It looks great. Like, I really like the animation.
It's a lot like Vampire Hunter D.
Well,
we're going.
It's funny you mentioned that because
Vampire Hunter D is like one of my favorite. It's my favorite. The '85 movie is my favorite movie of all
sweet.
time.
Yes.
And I go to the well on that a whole lot. Like the story of Aurora opens in a place called the Darklands, which is directly inspired by the 1985 Vampire Hunter D movie when D rolls into town on the horse and Doris confronts him. It's totally inspired by that. So the fact that you gathered that is pretty spot on, man.
Oh, well, I mean, for me, like, I didn't know anything about anime until probably like 99. And the first two movies I ever saw were Akira and Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Mine was Kura, Afro Samurai, and Samurai 7.
Dude, I think Akira still clears almost every modern anime still in animation style.
It still holds up, man.
Dude, it still holds up. And
and Ghost in the Shell.
Long?
Ghost in the Shell was like one of my first two.
Yeah, Ninja Scroll. Ninja Scroll was just re-released in the theater. I didn't get to see it, but I'm getting the Steelbook for the anniversary. But one of the things that a lot of people who have just gotten into anime over the last 5 years, they watch Jujutsu Kaisen and stuff like that. They'll ask me at shows like, what's some of the older stuff I should watch? And I give them my list, you know? And then they'll message me on like X or Facebook or something like that. And like, man, I checked out some of that. And they're always like, man, Tenchi Muyo and Outlaw Star are so good. You know, I didn't even know what those
Tenchi
were,
Muyo
you know?
shout out. Fuck yeah.
And like, I didn't know what that was. Like, there are a couple of characters in my show that are directly influenced by Tenchi Muyo. The original Kagato, who had the ship and he had the white hair and the glasses and everything. Like, he's an inspiration for one of the characters in this story, like his look, the way he comes off, his vibe. But yeah, like Aurora, it's its own thing, but it's also a love letter to kind of like that golden age of anime and JRPGs, really. But it's still its own thing. So
so you've got your website up. So for those that are actually watching right now, that'll be, or listening at home, you can go check out a lot of the stuff from the website too, from news and stuff. It's auroraofficial.com, and it's spelled ARAURA official.com. So on their site, they've got links to the YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and the Bird app, whatever we want to call it these days.
Right.
You know, they've got a lot of good information on the website, you know, latest news. I didn't know that you had done the book release was on here, right? And so I was looking at this the other day.
The release schedule? Yeah.
Yeah, the graphic novel.
Yeah, we've got the novels on there. We got the combo pack, all that stuff. The Volume 3 Kickstarter is, I've got the proof for it. Actually, my editor has it right now, but I've approved it. And he's looking through it, making sure I didn't miss anything. And if it's approved, we're going to go ahead and get those printing and get those out to the Kickstarter backers. Then a month after they have it, number 3 will be available to purchase. And we're not going to do Kickstarters anymore. We're just going to, as soon as they're done, we're just going to put them up for sale on the website and just keep them moving out. So
not to brag, but I have signed copies of both of those.
Hey.
Yeah. And we've got a lot more artwork. We've really been pushing hard to get the animated series out. And 3 is, the 3rd book is done. 4 and 5 are being worked on. Starting with 5, I've brought in an inker who's going to be working on the inks of my pencils and stuff like that. And we're going to get more books out quicker because we're going to have 2 people working on it.
Okay, wait, hold on. Can we call it what it is? They're just a tracer. They're just a tracer.
Sir, I'm an inker. He's an inker.
What I just want to point out, like, to Ray's credit here, this is like his passion project, and this is like something that, I mean, this for a long time has been a one-man show, and for the most part, I think it's really still is. I mean, you've hired some people, but this is to its core Ray Coffman. Like, this is exactly him. And I think it shows. Like, I've known him for a long time at this point now. I mean, for years at this point. And like, you can see a lot of the inspirations in it, but you can definitely see a lot of Ray in it as well. And it's like, it's just a really good mesh. And I've seen quite a bit of this project, both, you know, on screen and behind the scenes. And I think that a lot of it is, I think a lot of people are going to really resonate with this, and I think a lot of people are really going to see who Ray is as a creator once they watch this.
And he actually has a really good voice cast for this, part of which is part
Insane.
of the CGN family too.
Sweet.
Insane voice cast.
I was
Really?
John
yeah.
Bentley, who plays, he's in Final
Uncle
Fantasy
John?
VII Rebirth.
Uncle
And Austin
John.
Matthews,
Yeah.
who's also in Rebirth.
Yep.
It's funny because I was just talking to John last night, and he was I was showing him some of the newer stuff, and he was like, "Oh my god," because he had seen like the other stuff and everything. And I'm working on some. He plays Reese, the guy on the right of the screen there with the hood on. He plays him. So I'm actually working on some art prints for him to have on his tables at shows and stuff too.
Oh,
That
sweet.
character. So, and we got Austin Matthews, who he's not in the pilot that's dropping, but he is in the second part that's going to be dropping in 6 to 8 weeks. So we've got him on board.
Awesome.
And
Austin.
of course, we got Steve Bloom. We've got Johnny Bosch, Michelle Ruff, who's Rukia in Bleach.
Nice,
He's
man.
also our voice director. We just picked up Jeremy Lee, Ray Chase, Yuri Lowenthal is going to be on board. We've got we've had people say it's going to be the Godfather of anime, and I was like,
if there was an all-star team of voice casting, Ray has it.
Yeah,
Like,
that is a great cast.
I mean,
well,
at
it's one
this
of those
point,
things where
you're only missing.
I knew what I wanted this to be, and I knew how I wanted it to look. I knew how I wanted it to sound. And when I met Steve Bloom back in 2017 and told me he was going to be in my show, he was like, "Yeah, man, sure, appreciate it," And he was being nice. But then in 2019, when I came to him and told him my plan, he was like, "Oh, I kind of remember you. Wow, I didn't," because he was like, "Everybody says they want to do this, but nobody, does it or whatever." And so I was like, "Well, how do I do it right?" And then that's when I started figuring out how to do it right, and it took a long time. But anything worth doing, if you're going to do it, do it right, and figure out the right way to do it, figure out the right people to talk to. We had to get this union. We had to make this SAG official to get the people I wanted. I knew how I wanted to sound. I didn't want to take shortcuts. So
And real quick, I want to jump on that real quick, Ray.
Yeah.
It is SAG official. Okay. And this is being driven by voice actors actually doing their roles, which is huge.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Are you going to do AI for this?
AI?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like for
artificial
voices?
intelligence? Yeah. Are you going to be using
we're not
AI?
doing AI for anything. Like
And that right there makes it all the worth it right there for everybody to check out, is because he's using real actors, guys, and not AI, which is something that's kind of taken over the industry right now. And
one of the reasons
itself.
One of the reasons it's taken 4 years is because I refused to do AI. I had people try to present it to me, and I have looked at AI stuff. I think as an artist, you kind of tinker, you try to understand what it's doing. And like for the world I want to create, AI just won't work because I have a very specific vision for it. I know how I want it to look. I know what era it's supposed to look like. I know how I want it to sound. I would never even consider doing AI for voices at all because I know who I want it to be. I know how I want that to sound. And not only do I know who I want it to be or how I want it to sound, I want them to be a part of this family. I want them to be a part of this team, because when you genuinely reach out to these people, no matter how famous they are or whatever, you make them a part of the team. You make them a part of the process.
They get passionate for it.
I tell everybody that I cast, no matter how many credits they have or how few credits they have, they're like, "Well, how do I want to do this?" I'm like, "It's your voice. You are this character. I tell you who they are, and you show me how you're going to interpret that, and then we're just going to build this thing on screen together."
And honestly, like most actors love that.
Yeah, and they really enjoy that.
When they have a character that's fully fleshed out, but you give them the reins, like, I want you to bring it to life. When other directors sometimes will butt heads with actors when they have a certain idea about the character, this is how I want it. They'll still do their job, but when you give them free reign like that, I just feel like more creativity comes out from the actor, and I feel like the characters become more fleshed out, as the show progresses.
Well, and I think
of...
too, like it's name recognition. Like, you know, a lot of people could take the short way out and just use AI or whatever, but by using these voices, when you hear Johnny Young Bosch, you're hearing Johnny Young Bosch. Like you are, that is him, and that brand, that name and brand recognition is going to draw people to this that may have been what is this project? Then you see that, oh, well, if one of the biggest voice actors in the world is signed on to do this, this must be a project worth doing, because you could say, well, he's just doing it for the money, but at the same time, it's these guys' reputation too.
Yeah.
So
they could have said no. If something didn't like entice them, or something they read they didn't find interesting, why would they say yes just for the paycheck? Obviously it was very interesting to them. They're part of the project.
It's wild.
It's gonna be cool.
When we started recording this,
wait, hold on. You're pulling a Mel Brooks with this, and you're voicing one of the characters.
He's Stephen King in it.
I'm voicing
M. Night Shyamalan.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
You know what we need to do, Ray?
What's
next year, after we got some more episodes in the bank, we find one of the Comic Cons that a lot of your voice actors are going to be at. Let's do a panel.
We're kind of working on something right now. So we're trying to build a thing out.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because like when I recorded Steve in like August of 2020, in the throes of COVID, people were still trying to figure out how to record, and it took 6 months to get that lined up. And at the time I only had Steve, and Steve had read the books, read the scripts I'd given him and everything. And then after we recorded, he's like, I'm not, and his words kind of exactly as, I'm not trying to blow smoke or anything like that. He was like, but he's like, I think this has legs. He's like, I don't think I've ever read anything like this. And he said, he goes, who do you want? I was like, what do you mean who I want? He goes, who do you want? He goes, I know everybody. And I was like, okay. Dude, so I gave him a list.
What a flex.
That's a huge compliment to your work.
Well, it was a compliment, because he wouldn't do that, and it's a testament to him, because he really is just the nicest guy. Really, if you show you'll put the work in, he will back you on it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that was him putting his back against the wall for this thing. I gave him my list. They all messaged me that night, and I was like, oh my God, we've got a real thing moving here now. And that's when this thing really started pushing out the door.
And that's also kind of a rare thing, especially like when you're working on a project and you're working with another fellow actor, and you tell them about this project, and like you presented it to them, they read it, and they have that kind of reaction. But he could have just said like, yeah, I'm very interested. Let's work on it. But to go that further and say like, who do you want? Just solidifies that compliment to you, man, because a lot of rare actors, they won't do that. Like unless they truly feel like, oh, I want to be a part of this. Like, okay, what do you want in interim to where, like, how can I work with you and get this going? Like that's such a big compliment, dude.
Yeah. And like, it's a responsibility too, at that point. Like I had a responsibility to make sure that, they're putting their name on the line for this. I got to do everything I can to make sure it's as good as possible, So anytime there were delays, because this has all been on the job training.
So through all of that, were you kind of feeling a little bit more pressure? So now that it was kind of building with more of these
real quick,
no, because I felt like they understood where I was. I was in my basement in the middle of Kentucky with a family, working 2 jobs, trying to make this happen too. You know what I mean? And so they got it, and they understood that.
Case in point, with what Ray was talking about with the enhancements and stuff. Look, here's the differences, right? The before and the afters.
All I gotta say is
dope. Yeah.
The shot at the bottom with the smoke and Renzia, that was directly inspired by how the rockets blast off an Outlaw Star. Like how the smoke gathers on and then explosions in Macross and Gundam, the way explosions happen in those shows. I went back and researched and studied more, because that was fine. A lot of people were like, well, the top one's fine. And Soldier, I think maybe you or somebody else said this when I sent it to him. Like, the top one's fine, but the bottom one's, man, it's night and day.
It's those little touches that are the difference, because like if you look at it, like the general animation is similar, but then you see like it looks like
those
in the
little
top
added
one,
touches that
Yeah.
gives it that oomph.
right? Like the
that,
top one,
it
the
looks
top
good.
one,
Yeah.
the smoke in the foreground is like just kind of going across. Whereas in the bottom one, the smoke is going across, but it's also like billowing. It's not. It's got
Yeah.
it's got
You have
movement.
that sense of depth and movement. Yeah.
It's got life to it.
It's
Yeah.
not
All I
4
gotta say is-
frames looping. It's actual an
Mhm.
animated movement.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's like it's got life to it.
These are
Yeah.
the reasons we delayed the pilot. This is exactly it. Like it's all stuff like this, you know.
Well, and at
Like
the end of the day,
grass,
you've got to
movement,
be
and-
happy with the final
Yeah.
product too. And
Mhm.
And at the same time too, like it does have that like 90s Escaflowne like
Yeah.
little
Mhm.
fog in the top one where you can still see everything in the background even though it's supposed to be smoke and fog like and compared to the bottom one, yeah, it does like hide the image behind, so there's a little bit more of that like actual smoke rather than like a dusty wind.
I think
And there
Ray
was
just
one
needs to give
frame
us the
where I
episode
fixed, and I
now.
was like, I changed the background altogether, and because I looked at my wife and I was like, shouldn't he be yelling at the shed here instead of some trees? And she goes, oh yeah. I was like, well, let me fix that.
So, folks, I would say this: go on to their social media accounts and drop the follows so you know when the episode actually launches. Because Ray, I want this. Damn it! Hurry
Well,
it up,
I'm
buddy.
starting tomorrow night. I'm going to be on the Aurora YouTube channel, and the changes we're working on, I'm going to be doing live streams, and I'm
Oh,
just going to be talking to
Sweet.
people
Nice.
and being like, I'm working on it live. And I'm just gonna be like, this is why we did this. This is what we're doing here. This is why we're moving this around, and this is why we're putting here, and instead of there. And you were talking about the actors and letting the actors bring their characters to life earlier. I've got 2 really good stories about that. The first one is John Eric Bentley. We call him Jeb and Jib. We've got John Eric Bentley. We got Johnny Young Bosch. It's Jeb and Jib. That's how we refer to him.
I love it.
Like in
next time we see him, we're gonna call
Hey,
him
what's
me
up,
and
Jib?
Michelle are going
Oh,
over
I love it.
scripts. She's like, is this Jeb or Jib? I was like, this is Jib. This is Jib, you know? So, because we got 2 Johns and we were just distinguished them. But
Yeah.
like, so Reese, he's a former knight of this. The Darklands are a former empire, and they would kind of watch over the rest of the world, and they worked in conjunction with Aurora. When Aurora disappeared, they were breaking their backs to protect the world, and they fell too. And so now it's the Darklands. But you still have a few knights who feel sworn to the people of the land and partially responsible for letting it fall. John, his character, Reeves, is one of those characters. And so he was working with me to flesh out the voice and everything. So we finally came to the record. He was putting little things in the lines, and he was like, he would sit there and you could tell he was like, yes, you know, the I wasn't in there, you know, he added that. And then it gave me a feeling of the character that wasn't there before. And I was like, oh, so he is more introverted when it comes to these moments. And he's thinking about this after a character says this kind of thing, you know? And with, so that was something he brought by just giving him free reign to create the character, you know? And then Johnny Young Bosch, people don't realize how just friggin' hilarious that guy is. Like he has got incredible comedic timing. Like I knew it when I first watched Trigun, the original Trigun dub, because that's a lot of that is where Renzia, one of my main characters, came from. Was sitting in my efficiency apartment in 2004, writing this character, listening to Trigun DVDs as they were coming out. You know, and all these years later, I got to cast Johnny. So in part 2 of the pilot, what's going on with Renzia in the pilot is he just doesn't want anybody to bother him. He wants to be left alone. He's got a history like everybody else in this world, but he wants to be left alone. He cares too much about people, so he just distances himself from them because people aren't in a good place, you know? So these 2 kids need his help. He's like, man, I really don't want to help these kids, but I don't want to leave them in the woods either. So I'll get you all back to town and then I'm done with you, okay? And so like his comedic timing with all the stuff with the kids, there's this one line where he's talking to him and he's like, hey, I'll make you a deal. If you stop running off into the woods with murderers, I'll give you a hand. You know, there's another line where these kids are like, you know, they did something where they were thinking with their heart, you know, in anime, they say stuff a lot of times like, you were thinking with your heart, you know? And then he says, you were thinking with your heart, which is stupid. I like, You know, so just the way he was rolling the lines, it was just we had to do a couple takes because we were laughing in the recording booth, and he was just taking the lines that I had written for him and just let him create because I kind of know what his range is, and just letting him create. It was lightning in a bottle, man, and I'm really excited for people to be able to finally hear it. You know,
That's awesome.
Well, hurry up, Ray.
I know, man. I am. That's why I'm. Look, if I could show you my studio right now, I've got a fold away cot over here in my studio. I get done recording, I get done editing and stuff probably about 4 or 5 in the morning, and so I don't wake my wife up. I pull the cot out and sleep here, and I wake up about 10 or 10:30, and I get back to it, and then I go work, and I come back. I'm editing. I mean, I live in this 12 by 15 studio right now, but that's what you got to do to
and
make
that's
it
the
happen.
grind, dude. Yeah, but that's also the love of filmmaking. I totally understand it. That's awesome.
Yeah,
and good luck. And honestly, you got a fan now. It looks great. Yeah, like I said before, dude, that was just a huge compliment of what they said and what the moves that they were making for you. The moment they saw, your teasers, same thing, dude. I immediately see it. I see other shows that I see may have been inspired or been like influenced, and that's where that's when you know the project is gonna have legs. When someone, it's kind of that thing when you hear a new song and you know it's gonna be a hit. Most people think, oh, have I heard that before? No, I just wrote it. Yep. A lot of people say that those are hits being written. Same thing here. Why it has legs, like you constantly think like, oh, this kind of reminds me of this and this, and they get more and more interested. It's just really well done.
Oh, well, thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Yep. It's a labor of love, man, and it's funny because like when I first put the first stapled comic book out in like 2012, I had people, and it was very incomplete. Like I'm the type of guy that'll do the same thing 3 times to get it right. So I produced the comics many times before I did a collected volume. My first collected volume was 3 chapters. And I released it back in like 2014, I think. I put that out, and people were like, "Have you thought about animating this?" I'm like, "Every day, man, but that's not possible." And then 5 years later, 6 years later, we were like, "Let's do it." I had some people DM me on Twitter, X, whatever it's called now, Twix. And they were like, "Did you draw a lot of inspiration from Castlevania?" And I was like, "No, not really. I know Renzia kind of has like a look of Richter a little bit." But then I send them a link from like Amazon. I'm like, I've had this out since like he's looked like this since 2014, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," But I was like, I did get inspired by these things. I'll break the list out. You know what I mean? I love sharing the inspirations because it's funny when you do that. People are like, "Oh, I like that stuff too. Maybe I'll check it out." Don't be shy about the things that inspire you, or what moved you to do a thing. Give them total credit because people will find that. And I've gotten a lot of Araura fans through people that are like, "I love 90s anime. What things inspired you?" And I'll give them the list. They're like, "I'm gonna check it out." And they're like, "Oh, yeah, you're right. It's inspired by those things. I like it." So
So I do want to ask you something because this actually isn't a question I've ever asked you. So
Red looks great on you.
That scene, thank you.
No, it doesn't.
That scene that was just on kind of reminded me of Outlaw Star a little bit. But no, my question is, you were mentioning the voice acting and how normally in anime they would say this or they would say it like this, and you're like, Johnny kind of took it and was like, this is how he did it. Did you find yourself with this trying to kind of be like the reverse of anime, where you were trying to make this more voiced, like talking how people would talk, like not that over exaggerated anime style that is kind of popular right now, more so like me and you were not like me and you were talking, but just in general, like a conversation between 2 characters sounding authentic instead of like force or
pushing the storyline,
pushing the emotion a little bit too much.
Yeah,
we one of the things we were planning, and we were going through scripts and stuff. And by the way, shout out to Michelle Ruff and Johnny Bosch too, because like there were nights where I'd be up till 3 a.m. They were like, both of them would be like, send us what you got as far as the script goes. Let's look it over. And then they would be very hard, which is what I wanted. I was like, don't sugarcoat it. If it's not good, if it sucks, let me know. I need to know how to write this the right way, how to structure it, how to format it. So one of the things I told them early on is it's not going to be, and a lot of times in anime, what you run into is when they're dubbing, like you've got these beeps that are going off, and you have to get the vocal tone in between the beeps, and you got to get your lines in, all that kind of stuff, and you got to match the lip flaps. And there's none of that. So I told them, I was like, we're conversational. I want to use your voice. And that's why I'm casting you. I've heard you talk. I know how you sound. I want your voice as this character. And a lot of times when they play different characters, they're just using different inflections of their own voice anyway. And so when I do get to know these people and I hear their voices, I'm like, that right there, that's what I want. I want you to say it like that, but like you're pissed, or like somebody just stole something from you, or, and then we'll give them direction, and then they take it and they do it their own thing. But yeah, I want it to be conversational. It needs to sound like a drama. My biggest influence is all this is the Lord of the Rings. And I've been a Lord of the Rings fan since I was a kid, reading The Hobbit, reading the books, and then the movies came out, which just expounded the fandom. But I started writing this as a series of novels in college, and it just never worked. And then friends were like, make it a comic. I'm like, doesn't work as a comic. Then a buddy of mine let me hold a copy of Berserk. I was like, well, it could be this, and then that's what my need to turn into this turned into. But yeah, to answer your question, it's conversational. We're not doing a whole lot of like over inflection and
manipulating their voice to kind of amplify the character. You want them to be grounded and really come from a real place,
right? Because the thing about, there is some anime humor and stuff in there, like anime inspired humor, like if somebody like gets pissed or something, but that's more of in the artwork and less in the voice. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because the thing about the Darklands is people that live there, they just go about their day-to-day lives. People that don't live there, that are coming to try to help people or whatever, it's horrifying for them. And they're just like, and other people are like, nah, we're used to this, man. Just don't go out at night and stay in your house and stay on the road if you got to go somewhere and blah, 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 and, but yeah, you'll see all that stuff that we're talking about. But as far as the voice acting and the performances, yeah, it's more grounded. There are lighthearted moments. There are casual humor moments and stuff like that. It's not too overbearing. It's not like a Castlevania or something like that. It's very much more like an Outlaw Star. You know what I mean? I keep going back to Berserk, Outlaw Star. You think about that 97, 98 dub of Berserk. You know what I mean? Of course, it was dubbed later. But that first series, think like that. There's humor, but they're talking to each other like people. You know what I mean? That's the biggest thing. I was like, I want everybody to talk to each other like people. That's what this story is. And I think that's what's kind of set it apart from a lot of things. It's not going to be some people's cup of tea. Like if they're into like the middle school anime things, I don't want to cut people out, but if you're into that kind of more goofier kind of modern stuff, it might not be your cup of tea, but I would encourage you to check it out anyway, because it might be your gateway into that 90s stuff. My goal with this show at the end of the day is for somebody to watch this and be like, huh, I missed this in 98. I missed everything that came out in 98. How did I miss this? That's my goal with this when it comes out.
And it could be kind of one of those new shows that comes out, kind of like what's going on now with the resurgence of the old 80s and 90s kind of shows or cartoons or toys coming out.
X-Men 92,
yeah, exactly.
X-Men 97.
But that's the thing. Your show could be the bridge to bring back more of a resurgence of that stuff that inspired you and inspired us, which I love that.
Yeah, anime, I really feel like got its foothold in the West because of the grit, because of the darker tone of it. Because if you go back and watch Trigun, that's not a lighthearted show, man. It's like spoiler alert, but if you've never seen Trigun, but have you all seen Trigun?
Late on the spoiler.
A little late, yeah.
Just in case, you never know.
Statute of limitations is over.
Yeah.
The Legato episode, Legato Blue Summers is one of my favorite characters of all time. His character design, the way he's portrayed, the character itself, what he is.
Yeah.
Like the scene where Vash and Legato have their final encounter. That's all I'm going to say. and you realize Legato won that battle, even though he's dead, like that's when it hit me. I was like, this is fucking S tier storytelling. Like this is like beyond the pale. You know, it's so good. And yeah. So that era of storytelling, that era of artwork is something that I long for when I watch a show. And that was really my goal when I set out to make this thing real.
So I do want to transition kind of right on that. We're talking about like story and stuff like that, because we all met, right? As far as the Soldier and Ray and myself, all because of Final Fantasy. Yesterday, the Game Awards announced their Game of the Year nominees. And it was Astrobot, Balatro, which is a mobile game, Black Myth Wukong, which Jerry, you were like, hey, this is probably on the game, the list, right?
Metaphor. I said mine. I hope Astrobot or Final Fantasy win. But my biased opinion based on what I'm just kind of reading the terrain, I think Black Myth is going to win.
So you've got FF7 Rebirth, but then, and we all have hot takes on this, especially Soldier. Off
the record.
Off the record. Then we got DLC called Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree.
You mean Game of the Year potential winner Shadow of the Erdtree?
Now, this has created quite a bit.
It's not a game. It's DLC.
It is absolutely created a lot of controversy within the gaming community right now because it is DLC. It is an expansion of the story. Yet it's up for Game of the Year. The Game Awards, this is under their facts and everything.
We're getting
all the way.
We're getting technical.
Technical.
Oh, we are.
Oh, okay. There is
down here at the bottom. They actually are, and I want to put this out there. It says, and this you can go to Game Awards, thegameawards.com, go to their FAQ section. You'll be able to see this set down at the bottom. Are DLCs, expansion packs, and remakes/remasters eligible? The Game Awards aims to recognize the best creative and technical work each year, irrespective of the format of that content's release. Expansion packs, new game seasons, DLCs, remakes, and remasters are eligible in all categories if the jury deems the new creative and technical work to be worthy of a nomination. Factors such as the newness of the content and its price value should be taken into consideration. It's fucking DLC.
Listen. I have an argument. Okay.
What's the argument?
Okay. So in there, it says the jury decided to put it in the Game Awards, right? So there's a jury of our peers, whatever you want to call it.
There was deliberation.
Whatever. There was deliberation and it got selected. My argument is that if more games had not come out and been disappointing in the long run, I don't think it would have gotten chosen. But it is the highest rated. It's tied for the highest rating on the Game Awards list. It's higher than Balatro. It's higher than Rebirth. And it's higher than, I think, definitely Black Myth Wukong. And so for me, Dragon Age came out and was disappointing critically. Dragon's Dogma was controversial with its microtransactions, and it disappointed critically. A lot of games that we thought were going to come out this year that were going to blow the doors off did not do so.
Yep.
So they went with one of the highest rated pieces of content in gaming. And despite that being a DLC, it was still very critically well received.
Also, to kind of add to your
and
claim,
it is the size of a full game.
Its predecessor was the Game of the Year winner too.
Yes. Now,
so I do understand that.
With that argument, I do want to give the caveat that I don't agree with its selection, but I understand why it was put there in the sense that there was nothing else to put in there.
Yeah.
So agreed. The only thing I want to ask you guys does this kind of open the forum for other DLCs from other games? Obviously it does, but do you think that's kind of a dangerous thing? Yes. Because now in the future, well, if a game comes out that everyone thinks deserves to be in, but then a DLC like this that did make waves. Maybe
Hence-
if it wasn't as successful as Elden Ring, but it got selected instead of that game, where are we at then?
Okay,
FF.
well, I'll
14.
yeah, well, here, that's what I was gonna say. Here's the thing: every time a new expansion of 14 comes out, well, except for the last one, it wasn't very well received, but so far,
Final
Like-
Fantasy 14?
yeah,
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
like Heavensward was like one of the highest rated. Was one of the highest rated on Metacritic
Yeah.
for an expansion. It's a full game on its own. Every
Correct.
expansion is a full game on its own.
Yep.
If it were to be cut into it's cut into sections. The problem being is that you have to play base 14, or you can skip to Heavensward and just play Heavensward.
Yeah. Or
So
like,
there-
you have to.
Okay.
There
you have
is
to
a
kind of
skip.
do the buy.
Yeah.
You can buy a skip, which I mean I understand that's extra money and everything else, but you can play Heavensward as its own standalone thing.
Yep.
As you can every expansion because of the purchasable skips. However, again, if we're looking at it being expansion packs, DLCs, I don't necessarily think that it should be eligible. I don't make the
Now it can.
rules. I don't make the rules. I'm not on the jury. I don't get a vote. So whatever the Game Awards committee decided to do, that was on them. And I almost wonder if this is leaning towards Shadow of the Erdtree winning. Or is it because there just weren't enough competition this year?
I don't think
I kind of
I
understand
think we
both
had
sides,
too
but
many
I,
flops this
yeah.
year.
But the other thing is, I think if we still had more successful games, I still kind of feel because it's Elden Ring, I think it still would have gotten nominated. It's just a strong franchise in a game. I think it
But
may
I don't
have
I don't
gotten in
think
there.
it would have though. If
I
Dragon's
think
Do-
it would have taken the place of the mobile game because I don't think mobile games
No,
at
because
all deserve.
Balatro was so well loved.
Okay.
Yes. Oh
But
yeah.
I will say this: I think like if Dragon's Dogma 2 or Dragon Age had come out and scored like a 90 on Metacritic,
You think it would have taken it?
I think Erdtree wouldn't be there.
Correct.
I
Either
think
one of those would have been
think
at
this is
spot.
I think this is a direct result of the gaming industry being really light on games this year, and the ones that we
Yeah.
all thought were going to come out and blow the doors off did not do so. So I think this is why Erdtree is there. Not that I necessarily agree with it, although I do hope it wins because the salt will feed families for generations. But
I agree with your assessment. I don't agree with hoping it wins. I really secretly hope Astrobot wins, but I for the hype and how many people are streaming it still, I think it's going to be between Elden Ring and Wukong. But I think
Now-
Wukong might win.
But I'll say this. I also believe that there is there could be, as Matt said, maybe a problem with this because, okay, let's say
Pandora's box.
No,
Just
Pandora's
gotta
box.
open
It
let's say
doesn't open it.
Yes.
it does kind of, because if you think about it, okay, what if Fortnite decides we're going to make an expansion pack? Fortnite's
40
one of the-
I mean, like,
40-hour
you-
content
Yeah, but
expansion pack.
you have like Tekken, you have all like literally every fighting game remains the same fighting game until they bring out the next expansion of it. Tekken 7 was like 3-4 years.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
didn't Fortnite add a Guitar Hero mode?
Yeah, I mean like
Yeah.
it
So-
doesn't add
What?
it doesn't add like
Yes.
like does it make it the game of the year now? No,
It didn't
doesn't.
last long,
Like,
did it? Because I don't remember.
honestly,
that.
let's be real.
So-
It doesn't really
Right.
add it. It only was added right now, honestly, because of how big Elden Ring has gotten. You know, like
It's
it's
but even
too-
then though,
it's too large.
Now
it's
you
almost
have
like
to.
having, but it's almost like having like Destiny 2 or like a Final Fantasy 14, where it's gotten so massive that it's a singular game that's not an MMO, but everybody plays it as if it is an MMO. If that makes
so
sense.
let me put it this way: if it was like Destiny, you bring up Destiny, right? I can guarantee, like for me, is if we're going DLC route, which I think they now have to, because they're allowing Erdtree in, you can't just say, "Oh, we just made an exception because there was nothing there that
Exactly.
year," right?
They opened that box. They opened.
They
that
open
door.
Pandora's box now. You cannot put it back in the box now. So
Well,
the next,
I mean, like, tell me, like,
But-
I mean, other than this, the only other games that come out that are like a secondary game that I could think of this year is just Hades 2 and Senua 2. That's
well,
it.
what about Phantom Liberty for Cyberpunk? Does anybody think that it should have been considered for game of the year?
No, because that was like what 20, 10, 15, or 20 hours of gameplay.
Astrobot,
Right.
Astrobot is an 8-hour game.
Yeah,
Right.
it's still,
Game length to me doesn't matter.
I don't think that should
matter.
matter.
It's
It's
just
game
saying,
length.
like,
Well,
No.
I'll say this, and this might be, I don't know, saying the quiet part out loud. I don't know, but like I feel like whatever should be nominated for Game of the Year should be whatever the best game was that came out that year. If it's DLC that everybody had the best time with, then it's DLC.
See,
If it's
that's
a
something I
mobile-
can back.
If it's a mobile card game that everybody was just going nuts over, that's in. Whatever people
Except
were
for
going
mobile, I
nuts
can't
over
accept mobile.
and really going
How dare
crazy
you,
for,
sir.
I feel like that's in. It's a game. At the
That's
end-
just-
I know
I think
DLC,
I
all
think
this other kind of stuff. I mean, I get that. I understand. But it's like some DLCs, like Shadow of the Erd Tree. I'm not a player of Elden Ring. I'm not. I've told Alex many times about that. I'm like, man, I wish I had time to get into it, because it looks awesome. But and it's so inspired by Berserk. I naturally just love that. But or not that one, but what's the one that was really inspired by Berserk? Same company.
Dark Souls.
Dark Souls, yes.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Elden
yeah.
Ring is too. There's literally
Yeah.
sword graveyards.
Yeah, but I think to discount a DLC, the size of that DLC, just because it's a DLC and you put in, Hellblade 2, just because it's a real game. No.
And that's my point, though.
I kind of
Ray,
agree. I
is
think
that-
I back the fact that impact has to be a factor too.
Yes, but
I think so.
they open Pandora's box now. So they now have to, going forward, to what Ray's talking about, what we're kind of talking about, is that they now need to include DLCs if it's worth it, based on, hey, what was the public reception on it?
To consider.
Can I
But
make
to
a
Consider,
counter?
but that's still
now-
that's still considering the fact that the impact. So like that DLC for Elden Ring, it made a huge impact. Just
yeah,
like
but
a
well,
game
in
that
the
came,
past-
a AAA game that came out that everyone's talking about. That was part of the conversation too. So that's why I agree.
Well, and two
but in the
things
past,
here.
though, FF14 though, like it had amazing expansions that got included into that game, wasn't included for Game of the Year, yet you threw in something like Mario Wonder, which
But you're talking about Integrate.
So,
you're talking about that DLC. Was that
no,
really
for 14, for 14,
for 14.
Final
I'm
Fantasy
sorry.
14.
I'm sorry.
massive expansions. So
Yeah,
Right, the online one. Okay, my bad.
they are full games, like
Shadowbringers would deserve it.
Oh, and what about the
the
drought of Nintendo presents at the Game Awards this year?
I mean,
that's because here's the thing: is
I'm not
Nintendo did
for them. I just thought it was strange
because Nintendo did a bunch of like remakes and stuff like that. Princess Peach was a very niche game and didn't hit with that niche. Echoes of Wisdom, as much as I love that game, and it's now moved up the list in my favorite Zelda games, it still isn't resonating with the Zelda fans like they thought it would.
I would say the same with Tears as well. If anything, I think Tears would have been their closest kind of like nominated game.
But Tears was nominated, wasn't it?
Tears was nominated for Game of the Year.
Yeah, with Mario Wonder, they had 2 last year.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh,
but
this was last year. I'm
Nintendo
sorry,
really
this
didn't,
year.
They didn't throw out a lot
that's
of
right,
like
this year.
BG3 was the one that won it last year.
Yeah. So real quick,
Oh.
I do, as we are getting already at the top of the hour for this, there was one little bit of news that broke via IGN, as well as it was originally reported by Reuters. Sony is in talks to buy the parent company for FromSoftware.
Oh yeah.
Bloodborne remastered, baby.
Yeah,
So-
it is. Told you it was
Bloodborne.
going to come out, man. People
They already own shares in Kadokawa as well as FromSoftware. Once this news broke, Kadokawa's shares closed up 23% above. So investors are liking this idea. Market capitalization. It's a 2.7 billion, market capitalization. So this is going to put this deal close to the Activision deal.
So I pressed a query then. With this, with Sony acquiring this company, do you think they might go for another one? Like, I keep going to Square Enix. I keep thinking like somehow
I always
they're-
push
Square
Square Enix because they're Square Enix, and every time I call that the slow news day story, when people are like, oh, what can I make a YouTube video about? Square Enix is getting sold. Square Enix, people don't realize what all's in that ecosystem. You've got anime, you've got manga, you've got toys, you've got games, you've got Square Enix is more than just a gaming company.
So they're
a multimedia
They
company.
really don't need.
They're probably worth
help
more,
or-
if
okay.
not as much as Sony. You know
So
what I mean?
I will say, I think though that buying, if you could equate it to something, it would be like if Sony bought Bandai Namco instead of just FromSoftware. Like, Bandai Namco's their publisher, they release all their games through them. Like, that would be, it would be like if you
that would kind of be impossible for them to buy it. If anything, they would partner with them or
managing
Okay. Okay. I didn't realize how big they were. Because I just see them from like a gaming perspective and like their merchandising perspective. But you're right. They do anime. They have a whole lot.
Well, and if you remember, at one time they owned like 3 entire Western studios under their umbrella too before they sold them. So Square Enix was actually a much bigger company way back when. Yeah, Eidos, Crystal Dynamics, and then there was another one.
Right. Yeah, they did. Oh man.
Well, when they started selling about those, everybody was like, "Oh, they're getting ready to be bought." I'm like, "No,
they just leaned up leaned it all up." You know.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that deal. It looks like everybody kind of wants it. I didn't know Sony already owned shares in FromSoftware, so
they've been partners for over a decade. They did Demon Souls together. They did Bloodborne together. Like
they won't give a Bloodborne remaster.
Oh, it's coming.
You never know.
It's coming. Okay,
anyways,
remasters are a thing.
It's coming.
They're getting big. Yeah.
I have a theory on that. I think they've been sitting on Bloodborne remaster because I think now if I were making the call, I'd be like, if we have the remaster ready to go, let's wait until part 2 is a year away. So you could release the remaster,
get them
and then
going on that.
6 months later, you could be like, Bloodborne 2. You know what I mean?
Get ready.
And people are fresh on it. You know,
because gamers will get inspired and go back to the first game.
So I just recently replayed the original.
Go right into that.
So I do want to, as we're closing out the show, right?
That's what I did with Horizon.
I do want to make an announcement for next week's guest. The voice of Halo multiplayer that we all know, we all can hear that double kill voice and everything like that.
Kill-tacular.
Jeff Steitzer will be on Tuesday night.
Nice.
On the podcast.
That's gonna be fun.
So for everybody that hung out and is kind of just lurking in the shadows watching us and whatnot, thank you for crashing game night with us. This is the first time you're checking us out. Appreciate it, right? If you like what you heard, drop us a follow here on Twitch or head on over to crashinggamenight.com. Follow us on the platform of your choice. It's with everything kind of like I talk about this every single week, but with everything going on in the world around, especially around the US right now, please just be excellent to each other.
That's right, everybody. All you nerds out there, Soldier, Ray, thank you guys for so much for joining. I mean, Soldier, of course, like you just anytime you come out, anytime you want to come, of course.
And I want
Ray, that's what she said.
I want to say real quick. I requested, because Matt asked me if I wanted to be on the show and talk about Araura. I requested Soldier come on with me, because the whole time I've been working on this project, I'll message him and I'm like, he has really been a real great friend, great support. And I told him, I met him when I first started doing YouTube stuff for Final Fantasy VII. I told him, you're the reason I started doing YouTube videos. And we became really good friends. And he has really helped me at points where I'm just like, dude, I'm pulling my hair out, or dude, I'm going crazy, or man, I bit off more than I can chew. What? And he's just like, dude, just take your time. He was there for me when other people were not talking, didn't think I was going to get this thing done, not having faith. He never broke the faith. He was always there for me. And I wanted him to be here on a part of this show. I love you, brother. I really appreciate it. He's a big reason I've been able to push this thing across the finish line.
Thank you to you both.
I've been subliminally the whole time just been like, hey, you should make me co-creator in the credits. It hasn't quite stuck yet.
Special thanks, not
Well,
special
then,
thanks. Just
thank you
put
to
me
you
in
both
there.
because I'm already following the YouTube channel. I'm already a fan. It looks amazing, and dude, I hope you get to the hilltop. I want to see this made, and it's so cool. So thank you guys so much for joining. Once again, we just want to spread that same message. Times are a little, the election's done. We have our opinions. Let's try and just accept it, be open, have conversations. Let's be open to one another, and every once in a while, let's try and lend a a helping hand when we see someone in need. Overall, let's just try to do and be better, and once again, make everyone just comfortable, and let's just try and be a little bit more kinder. So everyone, be safe. And I send it off to my boy, J-Rock. J-Bone, take it away.
Yeah, again, Ray, Soldier, anytime, brand new couch, first butts on it, I love it. Thank you. Always welcome back on the couch anytime, Yeah, I mean, next week is going to be just around the holiday season or the start of holiday season. So please, be nice, be jolly, be okay, like find some friends, find some family, find whoever it needs to be to get you through the holiday time, because for some it's great, for some it's not. So just take that like a little extra time. We are hitting up the holiday season. Don't play Christmas music until after Thanksgiving, please. I will
Thank you.
put that
Please.
PSA again. Next week,
the
I'll
real
put
PSA.
that PSA out there again.
We all know Mariah Carey's coming.
No more.
Yeah,
No more.
yeah.
Oh God, that triggered.
But
Mariah Carey
save the
song.
Christmas music for next till after Thanksgiving. I'll put that out there again next week for all y'all to listen. I like to close it out with my man Theo, who is not here tonight. Hopefully you get well, buddy.
Yeah, feel better,
miss you,
bud.
boy.
Yep.
I miss you.
Miss you, bro.
But I got to throw it out to the fourth incoming-ish member, fifth member officially, unofficially. Soldier First Class, take it away like Theo does.
I don't remember the intro to how he does it, but I do know the outro.
It's
so.
okay, dude. Rebel here, you make it your own.
Hey, no,
baby.
As long as you know the outro, like you can
That's
say
all he
whatever
needs.
before the outro.
So I just want to say thanks again for having me on. Thanks, Ray, for having them invite me, even though I don't need one. No, everybody be awesome to each other. Don't kill each other over what wins game of the year, even though it's going to be Erdtree.
Well, maybe we might need Soldier on when we actually put the votes in. Like, just
He
as
needs-
like
he
the
needs-
color,
he
the
needs to be
color
on.
commentary.
But he needs to be that tiebreaker because it's
yeah,
four of
see,
us. We need a
there's
tiebreaker.
Four of us. We
so-
do need a tiebreaker.
But
Anyways.
anyway, guys, be nice to each other. Don't be at each other's throats on the internet. There's too much of that already. And we love you. So we'll catch you later. TTFN. Toss off for now.
Good night, everybody.
That's how you do it, Jay. That's how you do it.
No, you make it your own.